My martial arts black belt wife throws a massive punch right at my face. The sheer pain instantly makes me see actual stars spinning around. My mother-in-law just sits on the sofa with this totally arrogant smirk. Useless trash. She keeps hurling insults while a sharp metallic taste fills my mouth. And yet, I suddenly let out a tiny smirk. Why? Because absolutely everything they currently own has already started completely crumbling down. The heavy midnight clock chimes 12 times, right as the front entryway doorknob slowly clicks open. Dragging my totally exhausted legs, I step inside this place they call a home. It really just feels exactly like a prison cell. The living room is fully lit, smelling like a weird mix of expensive perfume and dinner. My wife Lu Nhyn sits on the sofa, legs crossed, just swiping on her phone. Her perfectly groomed, purebred Samoyed dog is just lounging quietly down by her feet, happily licking away at this incredibly fancy porcelain bowl. Inside that bowl is my actual dinner. My whole body starts shaking instantly, and it is absolutely not from hunger, but pure disgust. After working overtime for 48 straight hours, surviving on just a few cheap crackers and coffee, my vision actually starts completely fading out. Lu Nhyn, where is my food? My voice comes out incredibly raspy and dry. She does not even bother looking up at all, the screen lighting up her pretty face. Toot Cu was hungry, so I gave it to him. Are you really a grown man scared of going hungry? Her tone is super casual, acting like she is just chatting about today's pretty nice weather. The anger I have kept locked up for 3 whole years suddenly ignites. That was my dinner. The dog has its own food. Why exactly did you feed my meal to a pet? Well, look at you, daring to actually talk back to me now. Lu Nhyn finally puts her phone down and stands right up. She is quite tall, wearing some loose pajamas around the house. Her intense, long-time martial arts training gives her this incredibly powerful vibe. Even though I am taller, standing right in front of her makes me feel completely frail. Elvin, you seriously need to remember your exact place here. You eat our food, you sleep here. Absolutely everything you own comes straight from this Lu family. Forget about just one dinner. If I order you to eat literal garbage, you better smile and swallow it without complaining. She steps closer and closer, her finger practically poking my nose. I do not live off you. The mortgage for this entire place? I am the one paying it. Every single living expense comes right out of my pocket. My eyes burn as I clench my fists. This is genuinely the very first time I have ever pushed back at her this clearly. She completely freezes up. She pauses for just a second, then lets out this incredibly piercing laugh, like it is the funniest joke ever. The mortgage? Your totally pathetic little salary barely covers the interest. Elvin, you're just a guy hiding behind his wife, an absolute piece of trash. If I did not need your fancy university degree to make me look good in public, do you really think you would ever step foot in the Lu family? Those toxic words hit exactly like poison daggers, stabbing right into the absolute weakest part of my entire heart. Meanwhile, our in-law sits calmly on the single sofa doing her skincare routine. Nhyn finally speaks up. Nhyn, why even waste your breath on someone like this? Useless trash like him just needs a good beating to behave. She peels the skincare mask away, revealing a perfectly maintained but deeply arrogant face with a cruel little smile. Absolutely useless trash. Those exact words become the final straw that completely breaks me. Lu Nhyn acts like she just got an energy boost. Her eyes instantly turn totally vicious. Now watch closely because this gets intense. Without a single warning, she swings a perfectly executed straight punch that aggressively slams right into the left side of my face. Bam! My head aggressively snaps to the right, ears ringing loudly while my vision spins out. A warm liquid drips from my nose down onto the polished floor, leaving a striking bright stain. While that harsh, metallic taste completely floods my mouth all over again. My teeth actually feel super loose now. The bone-deep pain makes me stumble, forcing me to lean heavily against the hallway shoe cabinet. Are you going to try that again? Lu Nhyn flicks her wrist, acting like she just brushed away some kind of filthy trash. Nhyn crosses her legs with a nasty sneer. Completely useless. Down in just one hit. Nhyn, make him clean up Toot Q's mess. And if it is not spotless, he sleeps on the floor tonight. Lu Nhyn just tilts her chin and points right toward the balcony. You heard her. Get over there right now. Gritting my teeth through the massive humiliation and sharp pain, I do not say a single word and just quietly turn away. The balcony glass door perfectly reflects my totally miserable state. Just a skinny shadow with a pale face, a deeply bruised nose, and my black glasses knocked completely sideways. But deep inside my eyes, there is just this endless, absolutely burning resentment. You can probably guess what happens next. That 3-year grudge finally threatens to burst right out of my chest and consume my entire being. I slowly walk over to the balcony, grabbing the little scoop and a trash bag, while Lee keeps throwing nasty insults at my back. That pathetic loser gets what he deserves. Crouching down to clean up the mess, my hand casually slides into my pocket, my fingertips tracing my cold phone case. I quietly hit the stop button. A full 10-minute audio recording is secretly saved right then and there, capturing absolutely every single harsh insult and violent strike those two women just proudly threw directly at me. But honestly, this is still not nearly enough. I open up another heavily encrypted folder, and inside sits an entirely different secret recording. That is the exact recording my phone secretly caught a few days ago, when I accidentally left it charging in the living room. "Mom, it looks like Elvin's project is about to wrap up. I heard the bonus is huge. So what if it succeeds? Isn't it just our family's money anyway? The second his bonus comes in, just tell him you really like a new designer bag, and make him buy it for you. For the rest of it, just say your mom is short on cash right now. Let him show some respect. What if he refuses?" Refuse? Like he'd dare. A spineless guy clinging to us like him. What exactly is he without our family backing him up? Don't you forget, the only reason he even got that medical engineer job is because I pulled some serious strings to get him in there. If I want him completely gone, hacking his bags, it just takes one single word. Just squeeze every last bit of value out of him, then kick him straight to the curb like a piece of trash. That is exactly the kind of ending he truly deserves. A seriously cold gleam flashes right through my eyes. I delete the brand new recording, deciding to only keep this specific older one instead. The physical pain all over. My body has gone completely numb by now, completely replaced by this bone-chilling, absolute sense of icy calm. Lu Nhyn ordered me to go clean up in the bathroom. The guy in the mirror looks so messed up, I barely recognize myself. My left cheek is swollen into this massive purple bruise, while a steady red drip falls from my nose. It mixes right into the freezing tap water, staining the entire sink. I stare at my own reflection in the mirror, and my tears finally start falling completely out of my control, mixing right into the mess, unable to tell if it tastes salty or bitter. 3 years ago, when Lu Nhyn and I actually got married, I honestly thought I'd found real love. I was just an ordinary medical engineer from the countryside who made it to the big city, managing to marry a truly wealthy urban girl like Lu Nhyn. Absolutely. Everyone around me kept saying I hit the absolute jackpot. I used to be completely full of hope for this family too, thinking that if I just worked hard and treated her right, I could actually earn some real love and respect from my in-laws. But I was so wrong. She showed her true colors right on our wedding night. If I came home late from working overtime, she would literally throw all my luggage right out the front door. If I cooked something that totally didn't fit her taste, she would straight up dump the entire plate of food right over my head. She was absolutely obsessed with dragging me along to all these fancy gatherings with her snobby, ultra-rich circle of friends, bragging about how she managed to marry an elite graduate from a prestigious school, showing me off exactly like I was some kind of shiny trophy. But the very second we got back home, she would degrade me into absolutely nothing, screaming that I was just a useless pretty face who couldn't actually do a single thing right. And her mother, Lee, she was the ultimate director of this whole tragedy. For 3 entire years, she used every single excuse in the book to completely drain my life savings. When we bought this newlywed house, I spent the whole 500,000 yuan it saved since I first started working. I even borrowed another 300,000 yuan from friends and relatives just for the down payment. Yet the property deed only had Lu Nhyn's name written on it. Lee spoke with such incredibly sweet words back then. She said, "Elvin, you're from out of town, so buying a house here has really complicated paperwork. Let's just put our Nhyn's name down first. You two are husband and wife anyway, so it's practically the exact same thing." I actually believed them completely, and as a result, for the monthly mortgage payments, they claimed they were testing my family responsibility just to force me into carrying the heaviest burden, totally alone. I essentially turned into a walking ATM for that mother and daughter, a literal punching bag they could casually beat and curse at just to vent their anger. Suddenly, the words my old college roommate, Si Than Fong, once said to me, flash right back into my mind. He actually works as a lawyer now. On my very first wedding anniversary, after Lu Nhyn beat me so horribly that my forehead needed 3 whole stitches, He looked at me with completely red eyes and finally said, "Elvin, stop enduring this. This definitely isn't love. You are just completely destroying your own life here. Listen closely to this. Certain things like respect, once you willingly give them up, you are never getting them back again." He was right. Respect. How long has it actually been since I felt the true meaning of that word? I slowly lift my head back up, staring right at that guy with the heavily swollen face, staring back with totally empty eyes in the mirror, the red stains on the corner of my mouth, not even dry yet, and yet I suddenly smirk, pulling up this incredibly bizarre, slightly crazy, and absolutely bone-chilling kind of smile. I'm the only one seeing that smile, but it feels like it instantly freezes all the heat inside the bathroom, making the air incredibly thick and heavy. I splash freezing water to wash the whole mess off my face, change into completely clean clothes, and then step right outside. Lu Nhyn is still lounging on the living room sofa playing on her phone, while Hbchen holds a bowl of bird's nest soup, leisurely taking small sips. They don't even bother giving me a single glance, treating me completely like invisible air. Now watch exactly how this plays out. I purposely walk extremely lightly, silently approaching the sofa, and maybe my complete silence is just way too unusual today because Lu Nhyn finally looks up, spotting those totally horrific purple bruises covering my entire face. She instinctively scrunches up her eyebrows in annoyance, opening her mouth wide, clearly ready to scream something, but her harsh words completely catch right in her throat, all because she suddenly meets my gaze, a stare totally stripped of its usual everyday weakness and fear, completely replaced by a deeply freezing, dangerously dark, an absolutely bottomless pool of icy water. A seriously cold flash cuts right through, making her shiver for no apparent reason at all. I completely ignore her though, letting my eyes drift right past her to lock directly onto Hbchen instead. I use an incredibly calm, flat tone of voice and softly ask, "Mom, have you been sleeping well these past few days?" Hbchen completely stops sipping her fancy bird's nest soup. A sharp flash of pure suspicion suddenly crosses her eyes, but she quickly pushes that random unease down deep, instantly slipping right back into her usual harsh and bitter attitude. She slams the bowl down onto the tea table with an ear-piercing crash. "What does this have to do with you?" she snaps. "You lunatic, go to sleep and stop standing here being a complete eyesore." I do not say another word, just giving her one long, heavy look before turning around and walking right into the tiny spare bedroom that is basically the size of a storage closet, shutting the door tight, completely blocking out their judgmental stares, leaning my back against the door, feeling like every drop of energy is totally drained. I stumble and collapse onto the floor. Sitting in the dark, I pull out my phone and dial Ko Than Fong. "Than Fong, I have finally made my decision." The other end of the line goes quiet for a brief second, followed by his steady, surprisingly powerful voice cutting through the silence. "Alright, I've been waiting a very long time for you to say that, and every single thing you need is already perfectly prepared. I just tell him thank you." He brushes it off. "Between brothers, there is no need for that. Lovine, remember this well. You are absolutely not fighting this battle alone." Hanging up the phone, I let out a long, heavy sigh. The grand revenge play officially starts tonight. Early the next morning, way before the sun even fully rises up, I am already out of the house. I totally skip going to the company and head straight over to Ko Than Fong's law office instead. Right on the table, I leave a leave of absence form, citing personal matters. By the time Lu Nuyen finally wakes up, it is already 10 in the morning. Spotting the leave form, she just curls her lips in pure disgust and mutters out loud, "What kind of pathetic tantrum is this useless loser throwing now?" Then she completely tosses it out of her mind. In her eyes, I'm just feeling a little wronged and hiding outside to find some pathetic peace of mind. Give it a few days and he will come crawling right back like a dog wagging its tail. She takes her sweet time doing her flawless makeup, getting ready for work. But the exact second she sits down inside her little red mini BMW, her phone suddenly starts ringing off the hook. It is the company accountant calling. "Manager Lu, I'm so sorry to inform you, but the salary card under your name and all your related accounts were just frozen by the court." "Oh, you know," she loses it. Lu Nuyen screams loud enough to pierce the car roof. "Frozen? On what grounds?" She yells out, "Are you guys making a massive mistake?" "No mistake here, Manager Lu. We received a strict enforcement order from the court, stating this involves a major debt dispute. Until this whole issue is fully resolved, absolutely none of your funds can be used at all." Lu Nuyen is shaking with absolute fury, and her mind instantly jumps straight to me. Loveen, that utterly useless loser must be playing tricks. She furiously storms right into the company. Right there at the front desk, she starts aggressively screaming at the poor accountant. It draws a massive crowd of coworkers just standing there watching the drama. But no matter how huge a tantrum she throws, she keeps getting the exact same firm answer. This is a direct court order. The company simply has no right to intervene here. At that exact same moment, Ha Bitch Lean is enjoying a high-end spa service at the beauty salon when she gets a phone call that completely shatters her soul. Is this Mrs. Ha? I deeply regret to inform you right now that Kim Thien elderly financial management project you heavily invested in is actually suspected of illegal fundraising and the entire project development side. They liquidated everything and completely fled the scene last night. The 2 million yuan you threw in is basically gone forever. Wait, what? That is totally impossible. Ha Bitch Lean instantly shoots up from the massage bed. The spa towel completely slips right off her body, and she does not even notice. That was her ultimate retirement fund, saved up over half her entire life. Refusing to believe this brutal truth, she frantically dials the main person completely in charge of the project, the exact same guy who proudly claimed to be the true disciple of some massive financial tycoon. The number you have dialed cannot be reached right now. She desperately switches to a few other contact methods, but without any exception at all, every single one of them is totally dead. That smooth-talking man who always called her sister Ha, promising a bright and incredibly wealthy future, seems to have completely evaporated off the face of the earth. Ha Bitch Lean's face instantly turns pale white, entirely drained of color. Both mother and daughter, looking completely spaced out, frantically rush back toward the house at the exact same time. Right in the downstairs parking lot, they actually bump into each other. Seeing the other's ghostly pale expression, both of their hearts instantly clench up tight. A really bad feeling rapidly spreads between them. Mom, my salary card just got totally frozen, and my 2 million yuan is completely wiped out. They speak at the exact same time, absolute horror and disbelief painted all over their faces. They burst through the front door, and Lu Nu Yen charges straight into my tiny spare bedroom. The room is totally empty. Most of my personal stuff, my computer and books, and a few highly important documents, have completely vanished. Only a couple of old clothes she always insulted are left hanging, all alone in the closet. Right at this exact moment, Lu Nu Yen's phone violently buzzes. It is a text from an unknown number, but she absolutely knows it is me. Wishing you two a very happy day today. No punctuation or emojis at the very end of that text. Those incredibly calm words feel exactly like an invisible, icy hand firmly choking Lu Nuyen's throat, instantly filling her with a terrifying dread she has never felt before. Ha Bitch Lean violently snatches the phone, staring intensely at the message while her body shakes uncontrollably. She stammers out loud, her eyes totally filled with deep resentment and pure panic. No way, that is absolutely impossible. He is just a useless loser. What could he possibly even do? Where on earth did he get that kind of nerve from? Seriously, think about it. How could a total loser they stomped on for 3 whole years cause this much massive chaos in just a single night? They cannot wrap their heads around it at all. But this is only just the beginning. Lu Nu Yen and Ha Bitch Lean are now fully spiraling into pure panic. The very first thing they think to do is use their connections. Ha Bitch Lean immediately contacts an old classmate working as a senior bank manager, hoping he can check exactly why the accounts got frozen. But when the call actually connects, his attitude on the other end is just incredibly cold. He sighs. Madam Ha, it is not that I refuse to help. Your son-in-law Loveen officially filed a lawsuit through his lawyer, firmly demanding a division of all joint marital assets with your daughter, while simultaneously asking the court to return every single penny he spent over the past 3 years. What? On what grounds? Ha Bitch Lean screams out loud. On what grounds? He asks. Based entirely on the fact that he has a literal mountain of solid evidence. The guy on the other end lets out a heavy sigh. Detailed transfer histories, consumer receipts, and even undeniable audio recordings. The lawyer stated that the specific expenses he covered for your family actually include so many things. It covers the mortgage payments and major daily expenses. Every single transaction has highly traceable proof, and the total amount of money involved is just absolutely massive. The court has already officially approved his formal request. They went ahead and preemptively froze all of your daughter's assets. Ha Bitch Lean, it's like she just got struck by lightning, standing completely frozen in place. She simply could not ever imagine that the guy she always saw as a highly submissive, simple-minded loser would actually dare to secretly gather this much undeniable evidence against them over so many years. But what about the house? It is under Lu Nuyen's name, so he definitely cannot touch it, right? Ha bitch Lin clings to her last bit of hope. But the house issue is even worse. The old classmate's voice turns heavy. Lo Vien also provided domestic abuse evidence to the court. He is requesting a personal safety protection order, while simultaneously demanding a massive amount of emotional damage compensation. Once that domestic abuse charge gets officially established, during the divorce asset division, he will absolutely get top priority as the completely faultless party in the situation. Even though his name is not on the property deed, he can easily prove he paid the vast majority of the money. This includes the initial down payment and the monthly loans. The court will highly likely order you to fully refund his contribution, or even divide a portion of the house's increased market value. Abuse? What evidence does he even have? Lu Nuyen hears this nearby and shrieks in pure madness. She totally forgot that her punch last night is the most direct proof. Hanging up, Ha bitch Lin slumps right onto the sofa with the completely empty stare. She refuses to give up, quickly thinking of another path. Selling the house. We can just sell our family's vacant old house. As long as we have cash, anything is easy to solve. That old house was Ha bitch Lin's premarital property, in a pretty good location, easily selling for at least 3 million yuan. However, when she hurriedly contacts the real estate agency, she quickly receives a piece of news that completely breaks her down. Now pay close attention to this. That house absolutely cannot be traded, because half a year ago, Lo Vien used the highly convenient excuse of their future child's household registration and schooling to completely coax Lu Nuyen into signing a document. Through a few incredibly clever legal tricks, he managed to turn that old property right into their joint marital asset. Back then, Lu Nuyen and Ha bitch Lin even laughed at his delusional dreams, thinking he just wanted to use a petty trick to gain a tiny advantage. They carelessly signed it without giving it a second thought. Who could have expected this was a hidden chess move he planted long ago? Now, without his signature, nobody can even touch this house. But the chaos does not stop there. Before one massive storm even ends, another one crashes right down. Inside Lu Nuyen's company, anonymous whistleblower letters suddenly start spreading everywhere, totally exposing her for heavily abusing her power and taking shady bribes from suppliers. The evidence attached is incredibly detailed. The time, location, and exact amounts are perfectly clear. These proofs exist precisely because Lo Vien used his top-tier IT skills, recovering them straight from a computer, a personal laptop that Lu Nuyen never bothered protecting. He did not hand it straight to the company board. Instead, he smoothly passed it to Lu Nuyen's absolute worst rival in the office. Very shortly after, Lu Nuyen gets called up by her superiors and immediately suspended from work, pending a full investigation. Ha bitch Lin desperately tries using her old pre-retirement connections to apply some heavy pressure, hoping to somehow just smooth everything over peacefully. But the people who used to flatter her, now, every single one of them avoids her like the absolute plague. Madam Ha, this water is too deep. Your son-in-law has a real mastermind backing him up. We cannot interfere. Your family drama is literally on the news. I do not want to attract trouble. Sorry, do not contact me again. Every single phone call she makes is met with nothing but a freezing cold rejection. You can actually feel their despair now. This mother and daughter finally experience what true betrayal and unprecedented panic feel like. Lu Nuyen cannot take it anymore. She frantically digs up Lo Vien's number and dials him in pure madness. It rings for a very long time. Just when she completely thinks nobody will answer, Lo Vien's highly indifferent voice suddenly comes through. Hello, Lo Vien, you absolute bastard. What exactly are you trying to do to us? Lu Nuyen starts out aggressively screaming, but right after yelling, her entire intimidating aura instantly weakens. Her voice suddenly cracks with desperate crying and begging. I was wrong, Lo Vien. I was truly so wrong about everything. Please spare my mother and me. Can you just come back? We can still be just like before. Like before? On the other end, Lo Vien chuckles softly. That exact laugh travels through the phone signal, making Lu Nuyen feel like her entire body is freezing completely solid. So you can keep hitting me, and your mother can keep calling me trash? No, it is not like that. Are you finally scared? Elvin's voice has absolutely zero warmth to it. Too bad it is way too late now. He just hangs up the phone. Hearing that dead tone, Lu Nhyn completely breaks down. She collapses straight to the floor, wailing out loud in pure despair. H. Beach Lee N looks at her daughter's pathetic state, practically shaking with rage. She grabs a crystal glass right off the table and smashes it into the ground. Elvin, I am going to make you pay for this. I will never let you off. Screaming until her voice goes completely hoarse. Inside those sharp eyes, a deep sense of helplessness and real fear shows up for the very first time. Right then, Lu Nhyun's best friend sends over a link. It is a massive exposure post on a local forum, sporting an absolutely shocking headline for everyone to see. The marketing director of a highly prestigious company, a rich young lady, is actually a professional domestic abuser. Even a martial arts champion had to surrender under her vicious hands. The attached photos have blurred faces, but that familiar living room background and that hazy figure are so incredibly clear, it is completely impossible to deny the truth. Now watch this unfold. The comment section totally explodes, and public opinion spreads faster than anyone could have ever imagined. Lu Nhyun and Hbchlien have instantly become the most famous people in this entire city. They automatically assume all this is the dirty work of some private investigator Elvin hired to smear them, aiming to ruin their reputations completely. If he wants to destroy us, we will just have to destroy him first. A purely toxic light shoots from Hbchlien's eyes. Even a cornered dog will bite back, let alone someone who has been incredibly arrogant her entire life. She immediately dips into her very last, darkest connections to start running a thorough background investigation straight back onto Elvin. She wants to find Elvin's ultimate weakness to deliver one single fatal blow. Very soon after, the news finally comes back. Sister H, we got it. Lately, Elvin has been walking around quite closely with the hotshot lawyer named Si Than Fong. Those two pooled their funds to register a small tech company together. Right now, this very same startup is busy negotiating a major software development project with the absolute biggest tech conglomerate in the city, Ki Min Group. The contract is just about to be signed. Hearing this specific news, a fierce, ugly smile twists across Hbchlien's face. Ki Min Group? A piece of trash like him actually thinks he can step into heaven? In her and Lu Nhyun's eyes, this is basically a golden opportunity dropping from the sky. They immediately decide that Elvin wants to use this exact project to sweep away all their assets and run far away. Mom, we absolutely cannot let him achieve this scheme, Lu Nhyun says, practically grinding her teeth. Of course. Hbchlien out a cold laugh. If he wants to fly, I will break his wings first. The mother and daughter split up to take action. Hbchlien actively uses her old business connections to spread vicious rumors everywhere, claiming Elvin's new startup is just a shady shell company with absolutely zero credibility, built solely to scam investment capital right out of the Ki Min Group. Meanwhile, Lu Nhyun tracks down a guy who used to chase her, a rich young master with some solid background, keeping a whole gang of street thugs under him. She cries and exaggerates everything, turning herself into a poor, helpless victim who got scammed out of money by some worthless, gold-digging man. That young master has been thirsting after Lu Nhyun for a long time, so seeing her running into trouble makes him think his chance has finally arrived. He immediately thumps his chest and promises Nhyun, "Do not worry, just leave this to me. I swear that Elvin guy will lose his project and spend months in the hospital." A truly smug smile finally spreads all across Lu Nhyun's face. She can practically see Elvin's miserable state, beaten down until he has to kneel on the ground and beg her for mercy. They actually think they have grasped Elvin's weakness for an earth-shattering counterattack. But here is the crazy part. Every single move they make is playing out clearly right in front of his eyes. Over at the most premium office building right in the city center, inside Si Than Fong's office, Elvin stands before the massive floor-to-ceiling window, looking down at the bustling city below. Si Than Fong drops a detailed surveillance report right in front of him. It thoroughly details the entire process of Lu Nhyun making contact with that specific street gang leader. They really are cornered dogs acting out. Si Than Fong's tone actually carries a little bit of worry. That Ving guy is no decent person, and his lackeys strike without holding back at all. You really need to be careful with this. Elvin lifts his coffee cup, takes a slow sip, and his mouth curves into a pretty cold smirk. Careful? The ones who need to be careful are them. Si Than Fong looks at him, somewhat confused. Elvin just turns around to face his partner. Than Fong, do you really think a professional engineer would create a crucial commercial cooperation plan that happens to be completely full of loopholes, like a trap? Si Than Fong instantly understands. You did this on purpose. You intentionally let them find this company. If you do not enter the tiger's den, how can you catch the cub? Elvin just speaks calmly. They think they found my weak point, but the truth is, they are just stepping right into the trap I custom built for them. This so-called partnership with Ki Min Group has been a chess piece set up by me and Si Than Fong from the very start. The cash flow, the commercial contracts, absolutely everything was so carefully disguised. The real goal here was never actual collaboration, but entirely to lure H. Beach Lien and Lu Nhyn into using their very last ounce of strength to commit illegal business interference and intentional personal injury, while they sit around feeling so smug, absolutely certain they have won. A much bigger net is quietly closing in around them. I stare right out the window at the glowing lights of countless homes. My own eyes, completely calm and unreadable. From the exact moment I finally decided to strike back, this entire game was rigged. They were always destined to lose everything. We finally have all the evidence we need. Over in Si Than Fong's office, he slides a massive stack of documents right across the desk to me. The top page clearly reads as an investigation report into H. Beach Lien, detailing every single act of her embezzlement and massive money laundering scheme. My eyes locked firmly onto those densely packed lines of text and endless strings of numbers. These are all highly encrypted files and hidden ledgers. I spent 3 whole years recovering, bit by bit, from a totally trashed computer H. Beach Lien carelessly tossed out. Back in those days, I was just a really motivated kid who had recently gotten into a prestigious university with huge dreams. During one summer vacation trip over to Lu Nhyn's house, I accidentally caught H. Beach Lien, who was a really high-ranking corporate manager at the time, quietly handling some rather complicated business ledgers in private. Even back then, I actually thought those numbers looked a little bit strange. I did not dig deeper out of sheer politeness and naive trust, but I have always been naturally sensitive to numbers and pure logic. Those completely illogical data flows basically burned themselves right into my memory, like some kind of permanent brand. After we got married, as the true nasty nature of that mother and daughter combo fully surfaced, I actively started recalling those old files and digging around. I put my professional tech skills to good use, completely right under H. Beach Lien's nose. Without her knowing a single thing, I fully restored the incredibly shady history she honestly believed was permanently deleted forever. Fake shell projects, massive embezzlement, laundering heavy cash right through overseas accounts. Every single line item on there is enough to genuinely make a person sick. Based on his deep analysis, Si Than Fong points right at the documents with the super serious tone. He says once this evidence hits the authorities, H. Beach Lien will not just lose her reputation, she is basically guaranteed to spend the rest of her miserable life rotting behind bars. Every single illegal asset registered under her name will be immediately seized and completely locked down. I just listen calmly, lightly tapping my fingers against the cold desk. There is no wild thrill of revenge in my eyes, just pure focus, like I'm putting the final touches on a masterpiece. But here is the thing, you have to understand. The timing is not right yet, I tell him. Just sending her to prison is definitely not enough. I need her to personally watch everything she values burn down to absolute ashes. I want her to desperately repent for everything she did while drowning in the absolute deepest despair possible. By the way, what about the guy you were tracking for me? Any movement there? Si Than Fong quietly slides over a few more photos. The photos show the main thug Lu Nhyn hired. He is actually leading a bunch of his lackeys, sneaking around and scouting out the area right below my company building. They are actively planning to make their move and stage a fake accident tomorrow. Exactly when I sit down to sign the big contract with the Ki Min Group reps. They want to ruin my business deal and put me straight in the hospital. Absolutely perfect. I stare down at those vicious faces in the photos and calmly speak up. Then let them have exactly what they want. Si Than Fong had already followed my exact orders, setting up the big signing location over at an old, abandoned office building that is currently undergoing some major interior renovations. That place has tons of camera blind spots and a really complicated layout. It is basically the absolute perfect stage for catching our little enemies completely off guard. Later that night, I use a cheap burner phone to make a call straight to H. Beach Lien and Lu Nhyn. The second the call connects, I skip the useless small talk and immediately put my phone right on speaker. I start clearly reading off every single piece of hard evidence I currently hold regarding H. Beach Lien and her massive public asset embezzlement scheme. Every project name, exact cash flow amounts, and every single overseas bank account number. At first, the other end of the line is just Lu Nhyn arrogantly screaming out my name, Elvin. You absolute psycho. What are you trying to pull by faking all this? Next comes Lien, her voice shaking as she spits out a threat. Don't you dare hand those over, or I will absolutely destroy your entire life. But as I just keep reading off the evidence, getting more and more detailed, and far more totally devastating, their voices start completely trembling. All that arrogant pride instantly morphs into pure, undeniable terror. After one really ear-piercing scream, nothing is left but their weak curses mixed with ugly sobbing. You monster, you are a complete and total monster. I do not even care about their little mental breakdown. I just keep using this cold, totally robotic tone, speaking out every single word. Oh, and one more thing, Nhyn, I already know all about those thugs you hired to attack me. Can you imagine their absolute shock? I tell them I even know their thugs plan to break my legs at 10 a.m. tomorrow during the signing. The other and instantly goes dead silent. You cannot even hear them breathe. I can clearly picture their totally pale, completely horrified faces staring back at the phone. In this exact moment, all of this is just the direct result of the incredibly harsh lessons you two taught me back then. Now, it is finally my turn to give you a proper education. After saying that, I just hang up, yank the SIM card right out, snap it in half, and toss it in the trash. The real show finally starts tomorrow. The next morning brings some absolutely beautiful sunny weather, but for Lien and Nhyn, this particular day is way darker than any brutal winter storm. Bright and early, several uniformed investigators knock very hard on their front door, flashing a proper search warrant and officially announcing a major criminal investigation. Lien instantly collapses right there on the floor. Every single bank account, stock portfolio, mutual fund, real estate property, and corporate share registered under her name gets completely and legally frozen solid by the authorities right then and there. She desperately calls up all her so-called old friends and past connections, begging for help. But this time, they do not even bother pretending. They just hang up straight away. When the wall falls, everyone pushes. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. She finally understands that harsh truth today. Nhyn gets completely dragged into this mess too, acting as a direct relative and the proxy holder for a huge chunk of Lien's assets. A massive and completely permanent stain is now burned right onto her personal credit report, and she can never wipe it away. The banks start blowing up her phone, making back-to-back calls demanding their loan payments immediately. Meanwhile, on the complete opposite side of the city, I am pulling off a totally ruthless move to cut off their escape. Using the massive capital I prepared beforehand, I execute perfectly timed short selling orders across the financial market. I specifically target a few stock codes that share deep, cooperative ties with Nhyn's own company. The stock prices of these exact companies were already incredibly shaky and about to collapse from market changes. My calculated move becomes the final straw that completely breaks the camel's back. A massive chain reaction happens instantly. Stock prices at Nhyn's workplace take a complete nosedive. The board of directors immediately calls an emergency meeting. They were already pretty furious about all the recent negative press and her official suspension, pending a full investigation. Now, her mother's massive economic scandal delivers a completely fatal blow to the company's reputation, forcing them to strip Nhyn of every single corporate title she holds. The company's legal department instantly prepares to file a massive lawsuit against her. They demand she fully compensate them for all the severe financial and reputational damage her own personal actions brought upon the business. That exact same afternoon, Nhyn receives her formal termination notice alongside a heavy legal letter from the company. She gets officially swept right out the door without a single ounce of pity. The lives of this mother and daughter crumble overnight. Credit cards locked, and their bank balances turn into frozen numbers they cannot even touch. The loose change sitting in WeChat and Alipay becomes their absolute last remaining asset. That walk-in closet, once stuffed with luxury bags and high-end fashion, is now their only real hope. Now watch how fast things change. They actually start selling off the exact items that once symbolized their elite status. But when they carry a kin bag into a second-hand luxury shop, the owner just stares at them with pure disgust. Miss Lou, you two are practically famous celebrities right now. The shop owner mocks them endlessly. I have no idea if the origins of these things you brought are actually clean. I do not dare take them. Even if I did, I can only offer this exact price. The shop owner holds up just 2 fingers. For a luxury bag originally worth hundreds of thousands of yuan, he only offers 20,000. Plus, thanks to all their terrible news, almost nobody else dares to accept anything from them. They are treated like absolute trash, tossed away by society, with everyone avoiding them like a total plague. On the flip side, Ko Than Fong is secretly acting on behalf of an anonymous overseas investor. He quietly buys up the mortgage rights to Ha Bich Lin's most premium real estate directly from the bank at an incredibly low rock-bottom price. It will not be long before these prime properties completely change hands. Ha Bich Lin and Lu Nu Yen just sit inside their once glorious home, which now feels bone-chillingly cold and empty. Court summons, asset freeze notices, and bank debt demands are totally scattered across the table. They hold their heads and cry out loud, their faces absolutely soaked in tears and utter despair. They simply cannot believe it, nor can they even comprehend how this entire situation actually happened. You have to wonder what they are thinking. How could that useless loser they despised lay out such a perfect trap, tightening it until they cannot even breathe? As for that group of thugs that Lu Nu Yen hired, they followed the plan and rushed into that abandoned office building. But waiting inside was not me or the Koi Min Group representative. Instead, they found over a dozen pro-security guards with riot shields and stun batons, plus police officers already waiting outside. The physical evidence is undeniable. Their intent to cause harm and their illegal trespassing are as clear as broad daylight. That young Master Vuong gets dragged in too, brutally beaten by his own father and strictly forbidden from ever contacting Lu Nu Yen again. From start to finish, I never once show my face. I am just sitting comfortably inside Ko Than Fong's car. I watch from afar as those thugs get handcuffed and dragged into police cruisers. My face shows absolutely zero emotion, like I'm just watching some ridiculous comedy act that has nothing to do with me. Financial ruin is only the very first step of my plan. Total destruction of their reputation comes next. I take a piece of the domestic violence evidence, including photos of the injuries and some processed audio recordings, and I post them anonymously online. I do not name anyone directly, but combined with earlier forum exposed posts, the internet crowd quickly connects those tiny little clues to figure it out. They completely dig up the real identities of Lu Nu Yen and Ha Bich Lin, their full names, home addresses, workplaces, and even their personal ID numbers get totally leaked to the public. A massive internet storm aggressively sweeps right through their lives. Oh man, you really cannot judge a book by its cover. So flashy on social media, but behind the scenes, they are this kind of trash. Beating her husband while teaming up with her own mother. What a totally ruthless pair of wolves. So what if the guy is poor? Does a poor guy deserve to get bullied by you like that? Relying on real talents enter a top university, way better than parasites living off their families like you too. Let's boycott them right now and make sure these terrible people suffer a total social cancellation. The high society elites who used to hang around Lu Nhyn go totally silent overnight. They all rush to delete their photos with her, making sure to cut all ties completely. Some even turn around and backstab her in private group chats, mocking that her karma has finally caught up to her. Beach Lien's old friends from her retired officials circle are just as terrified of getting dragged down by an economic criminal like her. One by one, they all completely block her number. The mother and daughter are completely isolated now. They do not even dare to step outside, because the second they hit the street, they face countless pointing fingers and nasty whispers from every single direction. There was this one time, Lu Nhyn just tried going down to the supermarket for a few things. An older woman pointed right in her face and screamed, "You are that vicious woman who abuses her husband, right? You are so completely shameless. Our neighborhood, having someone like you is just terrible luck." Hearing that, Lu Nhyn drops everything and absolutely sprints away in pure panic. All those guys who used to wildly chase after her, the very second they hear about her family's downfall and massive scandals, they just vanish without leaving a single trace behind. They are absolutely terrified of catching any unwanted trouble. But watch how things flip. Right during this public circus, I use a freshly registered account to drop a really long post online. The title of the article is Simple Married for 3 years. The only thing I actually learned was how to find my own self-respect again. I do not use any aggressive words to attack them. Instead, I just calmly narrate exactly what my married life was really like over the past 3 long years. Going from being so full of hope at the very start, to just quietly enduring the pain, and finally, hitting total, absolute despair. I write about how I completely exhausted myself working for this family, only to be denied even a simple hot meal at the end of the day. I write about how they just treated me like a shiny trophy to show off, and then horribly degraded me the second no one else was looking. I lay out how I carried the crushing burden of our massive mortgage, yet never felt any real sense of belonging inside that huge house at all. At the very end, I explained that I never actually cared about wealth or luxury. I only ever wanted to be treated equally, with just the most basic human respect. But when even that became way too much to ask, I simply chose to walk away and find my own bright light somewhere else. I do not mention any specific names, and I definitely do not leak any of their private personal information online. But because this post is filled with such genuine, raw emotion, with every single word screaming for basic fairness and self-respect, it ends up triggering an absolutely massive tsunami of sympathy from the public. Countless people flood the comments section, opening up and sharing very similar toxic experiences that happened to them or their close friends. The tide of public opinion shifts completely to one side. Lu Nhyn and HB are absolutely nailed to the pillar of total public humiliation. They just cower and hide away in their house, getting relentlessly hammered by non-stop attacks online. The harassing phone calls and threatening text messages just keep rolling in. 24 hours a day without stopping. Some people even track down their exact address, splashing ugly paint and tossing garbage right at their front door. HB is the very first one to mentally break. She starts getting super paranoid, constantly feeling like someone else is creeping around inside their house. She constantly jolts awake in the middle of the night, claiming she can hear my cold laughter echoing through the living room. And Lu Nhyn is also standing right on the edge of a total breakdown. She wants to find me to beg, wanting me to step up and make all of this stop. But my phone number has been completely unreachable for a long time. She frantically spams me with messages starting with angry curses, dropping into desperate begging, and finally just rambling, messy apologies. I do not reply to a single one. She finally realizes that she has truly lost absolutely everything. It is not just her massive wealth and social status gone, but also the man she always treated like a cheap accessory she could freely push around. Now, their water is shut off, the power goes dark, and the internet is cut, thanks to a mountain of unpaid management fees and incredibly long overdue bills. The luxury apartment they used to brag about so much has now turned into a freezing, completely isolated wasteland. It has lost all of its old glittering glory. Now, it just looks like a messy battlefield filled with pure despair. Now, it gets real. All their food is completely gone. No proper meals for 2 whole days. The severe hunger and creeping fear twist like poisonous snakes, slowly gnawing away at the very last shred of their sanity. This mother and daughter who always stuck together. Now, they fiercely scream at each other over a single crust of bread, constantly shifting the blame. It is all your fault. If you were not stupid enough to get completely tricked into signing by that jerk Elvin, how would we ever end up in this pathetic state? Lu Nhyn screams into HB face, eyes completely red. You blame me? If you were not so brainless, abusing him daily, and pushing him into a corner, would he have ever turned around to bite us back? Why on earth did I give birth to something as utterly useless as you? You ruin absolutely everything you touch. HB fiercely fires back, refusing to yield. They shove and wildly curse at each other. Exactly. Like 2 trapped beasts aggressively tearing themselves apart inside a cage. Faced with this brutally harsh reality, their old mother and daughter bond just completely vanishes into nothing. After finally calming down, Lu Nhyn thinks about asking her past suitors for a quick loan. She completely throws out all her pride and dignity, lowering her voice as she meekly dials their numbers. But without a single exception, she only gets flat rejections and bitter mockery in return. Miss Lu, I thought you were supposed to be incredibly rich. Why are you coming to me for cash? I'm pretty strapped myself lately. Too bad. I already heard all about your family drama. I highly suggest you just look out for yourself. Meanwhile, HB suddenly remembers she still has a distant relative living overseas, who is quite well off. Clinging to that absolute final shred of hope, she tries reaching out to them online. She sends a message out, but she only gets a blocked red exclamation mark back. She gets outright blocked. They try to sell off the very last valuables in the house, stuff like rare paintings and antiques. But the moment they contact a buyer, they quickly get told that most of those things are actually tied up in the ongoing investigation against HB. They're legally flagged as case assets and absolutely impossible to sell. Pure despair hits them like a tidal wave. Drowning under that massive pressure, they even think about just ending it all. But after tearing the entire house apart, they realize they can't even scrape together enough cash for a cheap bottle of sleeping pills. It's honestly so ironic, considering how they used to just throw money around like absolute garbage. Now, even the choice to just quietly give up gets completely stripped away from them. Right as they hit total rock bottom, the doorbell rings. They open it up to find a strange middle-aged man, claiming he's a community support worker. He tells them straight out, considering your incredibly difficult situation right now, we went ahead and secured some temporary public housing for you two. The rent is super cheap, so this should temporarily fix your housing problem. The guy hands over a key and an address. It's the name of some rundown apartment complex they have absolutely never heard of before. They have no clue. This so-called support worker was actually sent by Si Then Fong. And that cheap rental? I had Si Then Fong deliberately secure it for them, paying way above market price just to make it happen. I genuinely want to drag them down from cloud 9, right down into the mud. They have to move into the exact place they once looked down on, and truly experience the rough life they always despised. Sitting in my new company office, I just stare at the fresh photos Si Then Fong sent over. The pictures show Lu Nhyn and H Beach Lien dragging their few measly suitcases, looking incredibly pathetic right in front of that rundown apartment gate. Their faces are completely gaunt, their eyes totally empty, like their souls got sucked right out. Honestly, I don't feel that wild burst of joy I expected, just this heavy, quiet exhaustion now that everything is finally settled. My phone rings. It's Si Then Fong asking they just arrived at that new place you set up. So what exactly is our next move here? I stare out the window, staying quiet for a second before answering. It's finally time to finish this for good. The meeting spot I pick for them is the rooftop of that high-end apartment building they used to live in. I already cleared it with the building management beforehand, so heading up there is super smooth. The evening wind is incredibly strong tonight, blowing my coat around violently. Standing right at the edge of the roof, I look down at the bright city lights. There were countless times I fantasized about standing here with Lu Nhyn, just taking in this exact view together, but now, everything has completely changed. Suddenly, hurried footsteps echo from right behind me. Lu Nhyn and H Beach Lien finally show up. Up close, they look even more pathetic than those photos. Their clothes are totally messy. Their hair is tangled, faces covered in dirt. You can actually feel the shift. The second they see me, their eyes flash with hatred, but mostly pure fear and desperate begging. They rush right up to me, knees going weak as they try to kneel. I just take a step back, my cold stare stopping them instantly. I tell them not to make me sick with this pathetic act. Lu Nhyn's tears immediately spill out. Crying, she tells me, Elvin, I was wrong. We both know we messed up so badly. Please, just spare us. We will honestly give you absolutely anything you want right now. We are just begging you to leave us some kind of way out to survive this. H Beach Lien totally drops that usual harsh attitude of hers, her voice incredibly hoarse as she begs. She pleads with me for the sake of us once being a real family, please go easy on us. I treated you so terribly before. I am sorry, I will even bow down to you. I just stand there watching this entire tear-soaked performance of theirs, not feeling a single thing inside. A real family? I softly repeat that phrase, feeling the intense irony. Back when your daughter used me as a literal punching bag, you just stood right there laughing, saying I deserved it. Did you think we were a family back then? When I worked those crazy late nights and couldn't even get a single hot meal, forced to eat your dog's leftovers. Did you guys ever once think we were a family then? When I drained every last bit of my savings to carry that crushing mortgage debt, only to find my name completely kept off the deed. Did you seriously think we were a family then? My voice isn't loud at all, but my words hit like a heavy hammer, striking straight into their chests over and over. Their crying slowly fades out, their faces turning completely pale. But H Beach Lien, it's like she wants to put up one final struggle. She glares at me with this incredibly vicious, threatening look. She warns me, Elvin, don't push us, we still have your weaknesses, and at the absolute worst, we are taking you down with us. I just smile at that, a calm, light smile. Are you talking about those old photos of me hauling bricks at a construction site to pay for my college tuition? Or maybe those expense records? The ones showing I lived on nothing but cheap buns and pickles for a whole month just to buy your daughter her first designer bag. I calmly expose that pathetic final threat of hers. H Beach Lien, those things you seriously thought were my weaknesses. They are actually the perfect proof of your own cruelty. But here is the real kicker. Leaking that stuff out will only make the entire world see your ugly, true colors, while earning me even more sympathy from everyone else. She stands there completely dazed, her very last shred of hope totally vanishing. I calmly look at them and tell them straight every single thing I did was strictly by the book. I simply took back my own legal assets, and I officially reported their actual crimes. I laid out the ugly truth about the domestic abuse. They brought every bit of this upon themselves. I never wanted to corner them. Staring right into their desperate faces, I made every single word count. I just want you both to experience exactly what hitting rock bottom feels like. I want you to understand that money and high status can never buy you real respect. And now, you finally learn how incredibly precious a person's dignity really is. The exact same thing you two trampled on for so long. Lu Nu, Yen, and Ha Bitch Lean are completely ruined now. They look at me, the guy they always treated like some useless pushover they could mold however they wanted. But standing here today, I feel completely unfamiliar to them. A force so overwhelmingly strong, it actually leaves them gasping for air. I calmly pull two neatly folded pieces of paper from my pocket and hold them out. The first one lists every single vicious insult they threw at me in black ink, calling me trash, useless, just a guy clinging to a rich wife. The other tracks the exact dates and specific locations of every single injury Lu Nu Yen inflicted on me over 3 brutal years of abuse. These are the lovely memories you left me with. Now I'm giving them all back. I open my hand, letting the night wind snatch the papers and carry them into the city sky. I turn my back without a single glance, dropping just one final sentence. This is exactly the harsh lesson you taught me. After that intense rooftop showdown, their true moment of judgment finally arrives. Because Ha Bitch Lean was tied up in major economic crimes with absolute, ironclad proof against her, an official investigation kicks off against her immediately. Now, she is looking at some incredibly long years locked behind bars. Plus, the total confiscation of every single illegal dime she made. And Lu Nu Yen gets completely wrecked by the massive abuse scandal and her company fraud. She gets kicked right out of that elite high society circle she was always so incredibly proud of. Reputation utterly destroyed. Family and friends treat her like poison. She tries hunting for a new job, but no company dares to hire her. Meanwhile, the court completely seals off their flashy apartment and puts it up for a legal auction. A chunk of that auction money comes straight to me, returning my rightful assets and covering mental distress. The rest goes toward paying back the massive losses her own company suffered. In the end, they get swept out into the streets, genuinely reduced to completely penniless wanderers with nothing left. Their only option is moving into a cheap rental unit I carefully prepared for them all the way out. In the city outskirts, a dark, incredibly damp, and cramped little box where even the sunlight seems too stingy to shine through the windows. Check this out. All those relatives who used to kiss up to them now dodge them like a plague. Even the people they bullied before start taking cheap shots, treating their total misery like an absolute joke. Just casual gossip over drinks. The media keeps dragging out the scandal, turning both of them into the ultimate cautionary tale for the whole world to see. Once the dust finally settled, I did one last thing. I publicly dumped every single piece of evidence from 3 years of domestic abuse right onto social media. We are talking crystal clear audio recordings, undeniable injury photos, and even some wild video clips I managed to catch on a micro camera secretly hidden in the house. I didn't blur their faces. I wanted the whole world to see exactly how ugly and toxic their souls really are. Beneath that pretty skin, the public backlash absolutely exploded online. This time, it wasn't just rumors or some basic call-out. It was a whole mountain of ironclad evidence. Countless people showed massive outrage against their horrible behavior, flooding me with real sympathy and strong support. Soon after, Ko Than Fong gave me a call, telling me the battle was finally all over. They have absolutely zero chance of making a comeback now. Honestly, just protecting themselves is going to be a huge problem. For the rest of their lives, they get to live in deep regret, crushing poverty, and total public disgust. As for me, I hang up the phone, staring at the endless articles and comments on my screen. There is no crazy joy like I imagined. Just this huge relief, like tossing off a 1,000-pound weight, mixed with a tiny bit of heaviness. The revenge is completely done. But those emotional scars, they are probably going to take a lot more time to truly heal. The official divorce decree between me and Lu Nu Yen comes down pretty fast. I receive every single cent of my rightful compensation, completely cutting off any remaining financial ties with that mother and daughter duo. The very first thing I do is take a chunk of that money and anonymously donate it straight to an anti-domestic abuse charity organization. And speaking as a survivor, I sit down and write out my entire experience, mapping out the whole psychological struggle I went through. hoping it might pass on a little extra strength and hope to anyone else still trapped in that exact same kind of darkness. After that, I sell off the small apartment I originally bought to help fund our wedding, finally paying back all the debts I owed my family and friends. You really never know how things play out. That little tech startup I run with Ko Than Fong, thanks to the huge success of our trap project, it accidentally builds a massive reputation across the industry. Now, the business is running incredibly smoothly and growing at a steady pace. My career is completely revived. Finally, I make the choice to leave the city and all its countless nightmares far behind. I really need a fresh start. I pack up and move to a warm southern coastal city, renting a nice place with a clear view right out to the ocean. I cut off my messy long hair and swap out my whole wardrobe for a style that feels young, bright, and completely full of sunshine. I toss those heavy, black-rimmed glasses, the ones that basically scream submission, and switch to contacts. Looking in the mirror, that gloomy, distant stare from my past is totally gone. Now, those eyes show real confidence, the kind of maturity you only get after surviving a massive storm. Every now and then, I catch a tiny glimpse of Lu Nu Yen and Ha Bitch Lin buried in some random social newsfeed. Ha Bitch Lin got sentenced to 15 long years behind bars, while Lu Nu Yen is miserably scraping by at the absolute bottom. Word is, she eventually ended up with some guy who is just as completely ruined. Stuck in this endless loop of poverty and bitter arguments, neither of them has any real power left to ever hurt me again. I suddenly realize there is no hatred left in my heart. The payback is totally finished, and I finally took back my pride and built a fresh new life. Clinging to that bitter past just does not make sense anymore. Then, on a really beautiful sunny afternoon, I ended up meeting a girl at a nice little seaside cafe. She had the brightest smile and these super clear eyes. We actually met because we were both reaching for the exact same book. We talked for hours, covering everything from classic literature to programming, all the way to travel and food. When it was time to leave, she smiled and told me, "I look really good when I smile." I just froze. Seriously, how long has it been since anyone told me that? I looked right at her and smiled back. Just a pure, warm, completely relieved smile that came straight from the bottom of my heart. A brand new chapter was quietly unfolding. That night, I read the very first line in my freshly bought journal. I really did fall into the deep abyss, completely swallowed up by the darkness. But that was never going to be my end. The true ending is stepping up to rebuild your own world from the broken pieces with your bare hands, and then rising up completely reborn from all the ashes.